This new generation is very soft. It's not that it's just soft, it's that they're seeking instant gratification. The moment that they try something for a short period of time and there is no results, they quit.
Introducing the founder and CEO of Super Luxury Group,
helicopter pilot,
best-selling author,
skydiver, ultra-endurance athlete, and professional daredevil, Alvaro Nuñez.
We think about all these big dreams that we want to accomplish, and they feel so far out that we just quit. Because it feels so far out, right? Feels so heavy. But if you break it down into small, tangible goals, then it feels more attainable. Some of the happiest people in the world, they're miserable inside. There's one guy that literally had it all. Beautiful wife, kid, amazing, beautiful mansion, all the things that you can imagine. And then right after his wedding, a few months later, boom, committed suicide. The most important conversation you can have is with yourself. And the moment that there is nobody else watching, nobody else listening, nobody else judging, it's just you.
Yeah.
And you're gonna start judging yourself? For what? I've saved a friend from committing suicide. And that was the scariest part I've ever encountered. When you did not expect that at all. It really catches you by surprise and it makes you reflect a lot.
So Alvaro, I never read a bios to people. I never have notes out in front of me, but your list of badass shit that you've done is a little too long for me to remember. So I'm gonna rattle off a couple things here, and then I'm gonna ask you a question that you probably have never been asked. Hopefully you've never been asked this.
I love it.
So you've done the Great World Race, which means you've hit 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days.
Yes.
You've got first place at a 100-mile ultramarathon. You did a 6-day ultramarathon in the Sahara Desert while wearing a 35-pound weighted vest, which we're going to talk a lot about today. You did an ultramarathon at Burning Man. You did the Ironman World Championship in Kona and an Ultraman. You did a race across America, which is a 3,000-mile bike race in 12 days, okay? And next, you've got the Ultraman World Championship and a last man standing race. It's a lot of things. So,
Sounds like it.
Hearing all that, I'm most curious, who are you as a human being? Who are you?
Just a guy that is trying to improve every day in every area of life, not just in sports. And again, that's just the simple answer. But of course, we all have a background and we all do different things in life. For me, that's just my passion. And one of the things that I've seen that it really helps me find an edge when it comes to my mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
But at heart, I'm an entrepreneur. I love to build. And I have a real estate and a marketing agency based in Miami called Super Luxury Group. I'm also an author. I have a book called Level Up that became a bestseller. Again, story on how somebody that didn't have anything ended up making something, right?
Yeah.
And then helicopter pilot, skydiver, love to travel around the world. And yeah, I mean, I'm trying to use social media and the platform that I've built over the years to not only showcase what's possible, but to empower others to take on action on their own paths.
What are you struggling with right now?
It's a good question. I will say to really fit it all.
Yeah.
I think that I'm trying to do too much of everything.
Yeah. How does that weigh on you?
Heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy, but it also...
Heavier than a 35-pound vest in the Sahara.
Different, right?
Yeah.
Different type of heaviness. I think that it all comes down to how can you compartmentalize everything that you want to do. And I think that we can make time for everything. It's just about priorities. It's about establishing different buckets. But I love to have at least a guideline with the wheel of life, looking at each area of my life, career, finances, spirituality, relationships, health, everything, right? And then from there on, see how in balance I am. Because it's pretty easy to start doing all these sorts of challenges and then to try to push a bit more and more and more, and then you're putting so much time and energy into it that you forget about the rest. And sometimes it happens, you know, when you are, I wouldn't like to call it obsession, but when you're obsessed over something that matters a lot, you just lean on it too much, and then you forget about the rest. Even like just choosing to do something that is bigger every time. Because look, my mantra is level up. It's about always going for what's above. And when you've accomplished or you've done a lot of these challenges, rather than to continue doing the same or going back to the bottom baseline, you're trying to raise your baseline. And for me, all of a sudden, it became, all right, what's after an Ironman World Championship? Oh, Ultraman, double the distance. Okay, what's after that? Well, let's take Race Across America. I'm not even a cyclist. I don't even like cycling. And I'm going to do the world's toughest bicycle race. So when you do those things, then all of a sudden, you're putting so much time and energy and effort into something that you're like seeing yourself putting 10 hours per day on just that one thing. Mm-hmm. And that's putting you away from all these other priorities that you had before. So when you ask me, like, what am I struggling with? It's about continue to level up in every area without having to put too much time in all those areas that I become out of balance.
Sure. When you were just getting going, I assume so much of this came from passion, desire to be great and do great things, do hard things. I'm curious how much of it actually was motivated by like inspire a lot of people, build a big following, be seen, be validated, etc. Which also then leads to a pretty challenging question. I grapple with this a lot. I know a lot of people do, which is like, essentially, let's say you have over 1 million followers on Instagram alone. Let's say that account got deleted, went down to 0. Now no one was looking at you anymore. No one knew about what you were doing.
Yeah.
Would you still do it all?
Yeah. And it's a great question, because I've been in that situation where the validation was the important thing.
Yeah.
Where
what was that like?
Empty.
When was that?
When I was in the process of building it.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden start comparing yourself to others and you're trying to make it in that game of social media, right? Like if you don't have the verification and if you don't have the followers and if you don't have the engagement, then you are not worth it. For what?
Yeah.
Now that is something that a lot of people struggle with. That's why social media can be very negative for your mind, but you can also make it something positive, right? So it depends on how you handle it. I think that we are all able to choose how we want to manage our relationships with social media. For me, I got into a point where I was like, look, what I'm doing, I'm going to do it regardless. I don't care. I'm just now in the path of wanting to explore. It was a path of curiosity. What first it was something about, let's put all these ingredients into the mix. Like, yes, I can build validation. Yes, I can push myself and see what I'm capable of. Yes, I can get all this engagement. And all of a sudden, once I've done all of that, I don't care anymore. You can remove my account. I don't care. Tomorrow I'll do another crazy thing and that's it. And I'm doing it for myself. And if I can share it with the world and anybody, even one person, gets inspired by it, then that's good.
Yeah.
At least I feel like our actions, they can have an impact in societies.
Sure.
For good or for bad. I also believe that if you are able to be a better person through the process, everybody around you could, by definition, then become also better. So social media or no social media, you're always going to have some people around you. The more that you can have and the more that you can impact in a positive way, the better.
Yeah. I have a pretty tight dialogue with a lot of the people who follow the show and continue to engage. And a huge pattern of comments and DMs that come in are around something to the tune of like, I'm 23, I'm 25, I'm 27. Like usually in that era of like, I'm starting to like realize I got to like fucking figure this out for myself.
Yeah.
And I have no idea who I am, what I'm meant to do, what my purpose is. Where do I start? It's almost a loaded question to be like,
it's great.
Where do you start in finding your purpose? But I'm kind of looking for the like engineer's guide to finding your why, finding your purpose. I know you've written on that a lot. You gave a TED talk about finding your why. If you could almost break it down to like literally step 1, part 1, step 1, part 2.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question.
Where do you start?
And one of the questions that a lot of people have at that age and even older and younger, at all ages, right? A lot of people struggle with it. Even those that say that have it figured out, even myself, I have to keep on asking me these questions, right? Because it's not that you have a purpose and it will be that purpose forever. Like things change also, right?
Yeah.
So I will say that it all comes down to, first of all, slow down. Like I feel like we are all getting rewarded by being fast in life. Yeah, it's about taking action. But taking action sometimes it means to block time just for yourself, because it all comes down to having those conversations with yourself. We don't have the capabilities of quitting the noise and just have that inner conversation. That's the most important one. And people don't want to have it. Yeah. If you actually take the time to just be with yourself for a whole day, even just the morning, and ask the questions that you don't want to ask, and being honest with the answers that you're going to give, that's where you're going to start building a path forward to finding that purpose. But it all comes down, people ask me, because I'm in the wellness space and I do all these things sports related. It's like, oh, what's the vitamins that you take? I can tell you specifically all the vitamins I'm taking, but my favorite one, vitamin A, which stands for action. If you don't take action, it doesn't matter. If you want to find your purpose, you want to find your why, you got to take action. And sometimes action comes in the form of failure. You might do something that you're going to fail at, that you're not going to be finding a path forward, but it's going to help you reevaluate what you're doing and ask you the questions that then it will guide you again towards a different direction that might help you find that purpose. Yeah. So you're telling me about what strategy do I follow? Time for yourself. First of all, try to ask yourself those questions. Once you have answers, you're going to have options in front. Yep. Whatever option you have in front, always choose what's hard. Choose what's something that you're afraid of. Don't go for the easy route, but take action. Yep. You have two choices right now. The choice is, do I want to talk to myself? Do I just want to keep doing life the way it is? That's the uncomfortable one, right? Talking to yourself. So do that one. Once you do that, you're going to have two choices again in front. Choose what's uncomfortable. Choose what you're afraid of. Once you do that, then you're going to start doing things. Again, step number 3, intentionally. We talk a lot about this in a lot of these conversations that I have with other people. It's about the intention that you put in everything you do. You don't have to do it knowing that that's your why, but it doesn't matter. If I'm going to step in anything, I'm learning piano. I'm going to do it with intention. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm doing piano because I want to inspire my grandma that loves piano and I'm going to help her get out of her, negative environment by playing her favorite song. No, that's not my why. I'm choosing piano because I have a gut feeling of something that I want to learn. Is that curiosity mindset. It all comes about, the foundation is being curious. I'm curious of what I'm capable of doing in life. Yeah. And there is going to be a path full of questions, full of answers, full of failures, full of lessons learned. And I think that that's the most beautiful path to embark on. And not the one that you're just like blinded and you're just like reactively moving on. Just proactively take action, have time for yourself, choose what's uncomfortable or you're afraid of. Make sure that you are intentionally doing everything that you choose to do. Make that something that you eventually will be doing it purposely driven. And hey, from there on, start focusing on the value that you can add. Do things that eventually is having a positive impact, whether it's value driven towards a community, towards an audience, towards yourself. Like, just think about that. And that is going to just automatically start opening a lot of doors for you.
A lot of people have a really hard time sitting with themselves. And you brought that up as the starting point. Like, sit with yourself for a day. And what I imagine is like get an Airbnb in a remote part of the country or the world and have no technology and like just nothing on your calendar. You just need to sit and journal and read and think for like 24 hours. First question is, what are some ways to just sit with yourself that are like literal? And also the hard questions that you bring up. What are some good questions if someone needs almost journal prompts to ask yourself? The ones that we're afraid to ask ourselves.
Just be fully raw and vulnerable. I'll tell you, you don't gotta, you said something about going to an Airbnb, 24 hours remote. Yeah, that's fine. You can also go for a walk with no technology, like your regular commute. Just do it without any technology. Just like go wherever you usually go for a walk, no headphones, no talking to anybody, just you and your thoughts. Go early in the morning when there is no distractions. Whatever it is, go for 3 hours. You don't need to go the whole day. Now, if you want to then later on explore even more, then yes, you can go that route. I've done 10-day silent retreats like the Vipassanas. I've done 7-day darkness retreat when you're in a cave for 7 days, pure darkness, just you and your thoughts. I've done all sorts of retreats where you're literally no technology, no sports, no nothing, just you and your thoughts alone. And that's where the real magic happens, because you're going to start facing the real conversations. The most important conversation you can have is with yourself. And the moment that there is nobody else watching, nobody else listening, nobody else judging, it's just you.
Yeah.
And you're going to start judging yourself? For what? Just be raw, be vulnerable. That's the first thing. Just enter that conversation being fully honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody's here to think less of you. It's just you. It's just you. It's a safe space. Once you understand that your mind is the safest space in the world, then you'll start approaching it differently. And you're right, 67% of men and 32% of women would rather get an electric shock than sitting with themselves for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy, but it is true. I thought that was bullshit. And then I started to share this with some people. It's like, oh my God, yes, for sure. I'd rather get an electric shock. And I'm like, really? Oh, yeah, hands down. It's like, wow. And it is true. I always thought my biggest asset was my mind until I went into this 7-day darkness retreat.
What happened there?
Man, the conversations that started to
So you
arise.
sat in a cave.
Oh, yeah.
Where was the cave?
In Oregon.
Okay.
And I'll tell you.
By yourself?
By myself, underground. And,
Was this like coordinated, or you were just like, I'm just going to go find a
coordinated.
cave?
There's one of the only spots here in the States.
All right. I have a couple questions on this. This is interesting. How do you lose track of time?
Oh, 100%. You no longer know what it is. If it's been 1 minute or 10 hours, it's crazy.
What do you do?
You just sit with yourself.
Can you at least see like the wall and up and down, or do you get kind of dizzy?
No, it's pitch black. You don't see nothing.
You just sit on the ground.
Yeah.
Eat?
Yeah, so there is a double-sided tiny box where they put once a day some Tupperwares with food. You don't know at what time. You don't know anything. You're just like,
So it is a voluntary, like the high security prison cell, basically.
Yeah, if you want to call it.
Why did you do this, and why do most people sign up for this?
A lot of people do it because they're trying to heal.
Yeah.
From whatever it is. Some other people are trying to escape from something. And then there is a small group of people like myself that I'm curious. I'm trying to seek that next level, right? I didn't do it because I'm escaping from something. I'm not trying to heal from anything that I'm aware of. But what I'm trying to do is to explore how far can I take my mind?
Yeah.
How far can I take my body? How far can I take my soul? And I did this right after the 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days. So it was like this huge contrast that I wanted to experience. I wanted to be doing some of the most crazy adventures that you could ever imagine by traveling the world in 7 days doing marathons to then all of a sudden just sitting in stillness in a pitch black cave. And I'll tell you that the reason that I talk about the vulnerability, and that's why I love this podcast, right? Because it talks about the mental health. I thought, oh, my mind, the strongest thing I have. I started to face some of the darkness was not just where I was. It was also in the thoughts that I was having.
Yeah, what came up for you?
Everything, it was no longer distractions. It was just like being vulnerable. I'm like, who is Alvaro? I've built this persona of superhero. And I don't need the validation anymore. It was cool at first, but now everybody's like, oh my God, like you are like this new Tom Cruise, this James Bond, this like Tony Robbins, like you're like a mix of all these things. You're a superhero. Okay, it's cool at first. I'm like, yeah, nice. But then if it's empty, what is that for? And then I started to be honest with myself. It's like, is this persona that I'm projecting the person that I'm really sitting now with? Or is there a different version that I'm not listening to? And that was the whole point on starting this conversation with myself. And then I started to drop the shield, being vulnerable with myself, and having these raw conversations on what am I actually chasing? Why am I pushing so much? What's the point? Like, what am I really doing here? Mm-hmm. Is it for like what you just asked me at the beginning? Is it validation? Is it, whatever, virality? Is it, what am I trying to do really here? And it was a very deep conversation, and I didn't like the answers. But I was being honest with myself. And then that was just one part. But then you start going into so many different directions. And I think that the key here is not to do the work of going into a retreat like this or having this conversation. It's implementing what you learn from it. everybody can go and do a retreat. You just show up, which is, again, 50% of the work. But the other 50% is to leave that place and actually take action.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot of times. People want to improve. People want to change. And this is just human nature. Nobody wants to stay the same. Even though they say it, internally they want to improve. That's how we're built as humans. It's an evolution. Mm-hmm. But it's either the fear of what you got to do in order to improve, or it's just, I guess, look, when you talk about fear, there is a lot of fears, right? It's like fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of so many things, right? And once you start understanding that fear is just part of the process, and it's actually not just part of the process, but it's part of the evolution, it becomes exciting. So all these conversations that started to feel like failure, it actually was very opening for me. And the most beautiful outcome of this retreat or anything that I've done is that, in order for you to find the light, you got to invite the darkness. And once I leave that cave, I was committed to take action, right? We're talking about that vitamin A, action. You got to take action without regrets, without fear, just forward. And look, everybody can have their own path. They can go for a walk, they can go for that 24-hour Airbnb getaway, or they can just go into a retreat like this. But whatever it is that you do, go with the intention.
Yeah.
We talk about it, like what are the time frame or what is the guidelines to do that? Well, we talked about it. And one of the moments that it really defines the changes in your life is the action that you take intentionally. So for everybody that is there trying to make a change and they're struggling mentally or they're struggling with decisions, just look at your options, choose something uncomfortable, and go with it. It's just like part of the process.
Yeah. You've talked a lot about this concept of Misogi.
Oh, yeah.
I love this concept.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
I'm curious, well, one, how do you define it? Two, when did this first pop into your head? And then three, what's your Misogi this year?
It's a great question. And for those that are not familiar with the term, Misogi is a Japanese term that really means to do something that you are so afraid of doing, but that you know that it's going to have such a strong impact in your life that you do it regardless. And
it's like one big one a year, right?
One big one a year,
yeah.
And that's what you do. And look, I love, as we discussed earlier on, being curious about what life has to offer.
Yeah.
We have so many cultures in this world that learning from different cultures really enriches your life. So you don't have to travel to be able to explore or to learn from a culture. These days we have access on just our phones. So I'm trying to absorb as much information as I can. And then if I can experience it firsthand, then carry on. Amazing. But this Misogi was a term that I came in the research on, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I started to apply it, and it definitely had a huge impact in my life. And this year alone, I'm looking into different type of Misogis, but it was the race across America, which I just finished it, right? Like it's one of those things that I was super afraid of doing. I'm not a cyclist. I don't even like cycling. And the fact of being on a bike for 23 hours a day, sleeping 1 hour for 12 days straight, it just sounded impossible to me. And just let alone just try to go for a 10-hour bike ride on a training and just realize that you're like barely able to do that. It makes you think, how in the world am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a huge Misogi, and I learned so much from it that I came out of that race as a completely different person.
How so?
Man, I'll tell you. I mean, talk about overcoming the impossible. What I once thought it was impossible is no longer something that I believe it's impossible.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that the mind is able to pull you through some of the biggest obstacles in life. And I'll tell you that I no longer fear facing something that seems impossible. I'm actually looking forward to it, because that's where, if you take quitting out of the equation, you're able to accomplish anything. And I always talk about it, right? I came into this race knowing that there will be two outcomes. I either finish the race or I don't finish the race. Mm-hmm. That's the two outcomes. Mm-hmm. And that's like everything in life when you choose to take on a goal. You either accomplish the goal or you don't accomplish the goal. So I have those two possible outcomes. I was going to try my best, and that was it. Once I started the race, on the second day, my saddle broke. I saw 130 degrees on my Garmin device. I was completely fading, and I felt like I was no longer able to continue. My mind said, "You're done."
Yeah.
And I saw that second option closer than the first option of actually achieving that goal. And I stopped for a moment and I started like tearing up. Like, wow, all these people in my team, all these hours of work, and I'm here, second day, I have 10 days to go, and I'm done. I'm actually done. And quieting that voice, it was probably the toughest thing to do. And you know how you do that? By taking action, by staying in the game, and by especially starting to telling yourself that quitting is no longer an option. And that was the most beautiful thing. I realized that the moment that I found that quitting was no longer an option and that I could have the capabilities of choosing to not have quitting as an option in that equation, then that's it. You only have one outcome. You finish the race. Not finishing the race was out of the equation now because we took quitting as well. And the reason that I took quitting out of the equation was not because, oh, I'm this gifted guy that has a great mindset. No, I've worked my mind throughout all these years for sure. I remember even talking to a guy that at the beginning of the race, I asked him, "Are you prepared for this?" It's like, "Oh, well, yes, I've, been cycling 40 years. I haven't missed one day." I'm like, whoa, okay. And he couldn't even finish the race because the mind goes beyond what the body can do. And for this race, I gotta tell you a little backstory. 1 month before the race, I was gonna quit. I had no why, I had no purpose. I was just trying to push to do something that was, again, like the Misogi concept, right? That I was very afraid of doing, but that I knew it was gonna have a huge impact. So I was following this gut feeling of wanting to do it. But on one of the 10-hour bike ride sessions that I had placed, I was 5 hours in and I started to curse, I started to scream, I started to like go mental. I was like, everything hurts. We're 1 month away from the race. I have no sponsors. I have literally no team. I have nothing. I have nothing. And I was, man, if I'm already dying 5 hours in, how am I going to even be for 12 days straight? It makes no sense. And I called my dad, someone that I've had a beautiful relationship with beautiful, I mean, ups and downs, but we always had something that connected us, which was sports. As a kid, I grew up playing tennis, and we always had this beautiful battle on how I could become better throughout all these challenges in sports. And I asked him for advice. But before anything, I asked him how he was doing. And he responded to me, it's like, well, I'm actually not doing that well. I just got diagnosed with cancer. And it's advanced prostate cancer, and I gotta go into surgery. And I was like completely taken by surprise. I was shocked. He's back in Spain, I'm in the States, and I hear this, and I'm like, whoa. And I thought to myself, before I even asked him anything further, I said, okay, well, I know what I need to do. I'll be there with you. Just tell me when this is happening. And he told me, it's like, no, you're not coming, son. How so? Well, because it's taking place the same time that your race is taking place. And you're not quitting that thing. You finish what you start. And you give me more strength by doing that than by being here with me. Mm-hmm. So we made this agreement that if I didn't quit, he wouldn't quit. And that was one of the most powerful words I could ever hear from anybody in this world. Mm-hmm. Coming from my dad, it really struck into my heart. And I didn't need to say anything further. I said, I love you. Let's do this. I hung up the phone and I started dialing brands to sponsor this. I started dialing the most incredible people in my life that I wanted to have by my side to do the world's toughest bicycle race. I started to dial in any other person that could be a support system for this challenge. I finished that bike session and I kept on going with every session that I had until the race. But when the race started, I was already dialed in. There was no quitting anymore. That was it. That was my why. I'll tell you, he was fighting for his life. I was fighting for my soul. And every pedal had a meaning. Every stroke had a purpose. And when that happens, it's just, you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
And ever since then, every mile in this race, I felt connected to something that was beyond myself. And there was no thought process on whether I was going to quit or not. It was just one single thing. I'm finishing this race the same way that he's finishing his treatment. And it was so beautiful to see him on the other side. When I finished the race, he was there on a FaceTime and I got to see him. And wow, now the amount of stories that we can share from this and the beautiful moments that we shared on the distance, right? Where I was sharing messages and videos to him while I was on the bike, and he was sharing messages to me that the team was playing while I was on the bike. It's just what kept us going. So sometimes you might not find your why, but the why might find you.
Thanks for sharing that. How would you sum up, like, what was your why in this race?
My father.
Your father. I think about this concept recently. Someone said it on an earlier episode, but the idea was if you are starting something and the reason you're doing it is to prove something that's to people external to you, get back at someone. I'm gonna show them, right? External to you, or the opposite, which is like prove to someone, I hope they see me. I'm doing this for my ex-wife who left me. I hope she comes back to me. External to you. Moral of the story is anytime your like why, your purpose is external to you, you've already lost. Has to be internal, has to be intrinsic for it to actually be meaningful. And I've been not sure I fully agree with that. Not sure I fully disagree with it. It's something I've been grappling with for a while.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I have my thoughts on that too.
Yeah, what do you think? Because in your case, it kind of was external to you, but it feels like it's for all the right reasons.
I think that anything that we feel can be channeled as fuel.
Yeah.
If your girlfriend, your wife, your boyfriend, your husband, whoever cheated on you, left you, you got fired, whatever it is that happened today, if you can use that as fuel, that's great. That's fire that is going to move your ass towards wanting to do something. Now, one thing is to start, but then how do you keep going? You cannot keep going in life just based on what happened 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 months ago. That's good as ignite, just to get started with something. But then later on, you gotta find a deeper meaning. Like, why are you doing that? Like, is it just part of your lifestyle now?
Yeah.
I used to, and I tell you this, I was engaged and I was cheated on, and it was one of the most devastating moments of my life. A person that I saw myself marrying, having kids, building a family, all of a sudden is with someone else. As I'm coming back to the States and building this life, I felt completely broken. And I'm being vulnerable with you, and I share these things in the book as well. But again, this podcast is something that I want to have people resonate with, because this is about really dropping the shield.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you a lot of things in the most raw and authentic way. But that hurt me a lot. But in that moment, I had two choices. Start screaming at her, talking shit about her, complaining about the world, how unfair everything is, or funnel all of this into something that was going to be productive. So right there on the spot, while I was crying, while I was devastated, while everything was broken into pieces, I Googled toughest challenges in the world. And I saw climbing Everest, doing this, doing that. And then I saw Ironman. It's like, Ironman. I've heard of this thing. I clicked on it. I scrolled through it. I saw one in Spain a few months afterwards. And I said, I've never run more than 6 miles. I've never rode a bike on road. I've never swam. I don't care. I'm using this momentum for this.
Yeah.
I signed up on the spot for the Ironman, and I went for a run. And I said, I'm going to run until I throw up. And when I throw up, I'm going to continue running. And that's what I did. And I did literally without really no shoes, no nothing. Like I had just my regular tennis shoes, no watch, no nothing. And I just went and did that. Ran a half marathon. I was just checking on this Nike app on the phone. And I said, wow, I'm capable of this. All right, game on, let's go. And what I did afterwards is I used my path for running to always finish where she lived. Because I wanted to finish on a spot that it was giving me so much fire, so much anger, so much everything, all these feelings, that I will continue. So every time I was making my loop a little bit longer, and every time I was trying to finish there so that I can push farther. So I used that fire to get me going. When I did that first Ironman, I cried, I was proud of myself. I did something that most people thought it was impossible. And again, multiple other reasons that were external. Tick, great, I build habits, I build all these things, discipline. I was like, now I'm gonna do it for myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sign up for another Ironman. I know people that do the Ironman and then what happens? They go back to their original baseline. No. Your baseline is here now. And this is how I think. I'm not gonna go back to where I was. I'm here now. How can I continuously grow? But now, let's not just grow a little bit. Let's fly to the moon, because the compound effect applies in everything.
Yeah.
I always say the DNA of your success lays down on your routines and habits. So if my routines and habits took me to do this Ironman with external why, let's focus on something internal. So I signed up for another Ironman. And this time I was doing it for myself. I didn't need to post about it. I didn't need to show my journey. I didn't need to do anything. I was doing it for myself. It was the most rewarding experience I've had, which then I qualified for the World Championship. And now I was in a completely different journey. I was no longer doing it because I was mad at someone. I had these anger issues. I was doing it because I wanted to become the best version of myself. And back to your point and back to the thought process of what to do, whether that's a good angle or not, I'll say whatever you're going through, whatever you have right now is the best thing you have to get started. And then from there on, just keep reshaping your tools, keep reshaping your path. And you'll get to a point where you'll start finding these different ways of exponentially grow without having to tap into the anger, tap into the jealousy, tap into the sadness. You can tap actually into things that excite you, things that are like really positively impactful driven. And yeah, now I'm just literally going into every challenge and everything I do with a different mindset.
I'm most curious right now about surprises in the sense of, okay, first big event, running by your ex's house all the time. There's a lot of fuel in here. What surprised you the most along the way?
In that process?
Yeah. Before, during, and after.
You're taking me back to places that are interesting.
I asked this because I've done similar things, which was like, all right, I am going through a tough breakup, and I need to channel this energy somehow into a productive thing.
Yeah.
The backstory to it is a lot of people in my life have looked at me and been like, dude, it doesn't seem like you're like sitting with this. Like you're clearly going through a tough time, and like you're not sitting with it. You're just like always on the move. You never take a second to like slow it down. You're literally, your calendar is packed 24/7. Like, are you processing this? What's going on? And that would scare a lot of people. And I think about it a lot. And I'm like, look, for me, it doesn't feel productive at all to like sit on the couch and just like think. If I'm going to sit on the couch, like I'm probably going to journal about it or something, at least like have a vehicle. But to sign up for a big endurance race is the vehicle. You know how many fucking hours I'm spending in dead silence, like running for 4 hours on a Saturday morning, and then like 2 hours of stretching and then doing it again in this training. Like, you don't think I'm thinking about this stuff? That's the vehicle to process it. And then I get to race day, or I'm in the race day, and the biggest surprise was during the day, I didn't think about it at all. Like the reason I started it's gonna be fuel. I'm gonna work through all this like tough stuff. I'm gonna show her. She's gonna regret like all that stuff. And then on race day, didn't even cross my mind once. I was like, oh, that was a big surprise. Must have worked.
Yeah,
that was the point. So I love the element of like, what are the big surprises along the way for you?
Surprises is that you're capable of so much more, right? I think that we all have those limiting beliefs. And as you start tackling one thing after the other, failure after failure, but not giving up in the process, you get stronger. So I thought that what initially felt like the end of the world, it looked like just a vague memory. I'm just a completely different person now. So the way that you can rebuild yourself, if you allow yourself to go in that journey, it was a very surprising one. And what I'll say is that consistency compounds. And that's one of the things that surprised me the most. I've always believed that because I've been training my whole life, that eventually you reach a plateau. Like, okay, this is my max. But what I've seen is that there is really no max. The max is in your mind. I felt like you could continuously improve every day if you stay consistent. And that's one of the things that I realized in this journey, and especially during that process, is that I can dictate my own future. I can write my own book. I can really define how my life is going to be. And I always see that everything happens twice, first in your mind and then in reality. You got to visualize it. You got to manifest it. You got to put it into motion. And I don't think that a lot of people realize that we're capable of so much more than what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of people with so much potential reach a point where they've done something great and then they stop for whatever reason, right? So what surprised me the most is those two things. People that we were all in this journey together that decided to stop, and those that continue doing the work and how far they're getting. And they have not put more work. They just stayed in the game. And this is the most beautiful thing that I see every day. Those that reach high level of success, they're not because they're working more. It's because they're staying more consistent at doing it.
Sure. One of my favorite quotes is from Yvon Chouinard, founder of Patagonia.
Mm-hmm.
The quote is, the best adventures answer questions that in the beginning we never even thought to ask.
I like that one.
That comes to mind for this.
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
We've covered a lot of ground. I want to think a little bit about mental health for a second. Why do you think it's important for men to do hard shit?
Look, I think it builds confidence, first of all. I think that it makes us evolve, us humans.
As a species.
Yeah. And as part of our trait is a way of showing the world what we're capable of doing, is that macho trait of, hey, validation of what you accomplish, right? But I think that at the bottom of everything, regardless of what it is progress. And if you are able to progress every single day, then you feel accomplished, you feel fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing more debilitating for a human, but especially for a man, than to not see process.
Mm-hmm.
When you see progress in the process, that's where you are building that confidence. That's where you are building that fulfillment. That's where you're seeing the real growth. And again, growth is not always like this. Mm-hmm. Growth sometimes goes like this.
Yeah.
But at least you're putting the work in a process that is helping you gain the progress. Yeah.
I feel like there's a huge need for more of this these days. There's like a big lack of it, lack of purpose, lack of discipline, consistency, and all those buzzwords. I spend a lot of time and energy just observing and wondering why. Like, how did we end up here? It bums me out a little bit. I have a couple younger brothers who are in high school right now, half brothers, and I observe a lot of what they say and what they do, what their habits are, what the world is feeding them, what their friends are all about, what they're motivated by. They're really young. I mean, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, like they really haven't seen much yet.
Right.
And then there's, peers that I mentor who are like 22, 23, also similar ball game. And there's younger me at 25, at 26. But something about like being in 2025 and looking out, I feel like boys and young men and just men in general, they should maybe consider doing some harder stuff.
Man,
taking bigger risks.
This new generation is very soft. And it's not that it's just soft, it's that they're seeking instant gratification. And that comes from all sorts of forms, validation and whatever it is, right? But I think that the moment that they try something for a short period of time and there is no results, they quit.
Yeah.
And not quitting and stop doing something. They might try something else. But it's about this constant jumping from one thing to the other versus staying consistent at something, right? Maybe they're staying consistent at jumping from one thing to the other, but the key here at what we talked, and if you look back into some of the greatest achievements, it all was coming down to the same thing, staying consistent at what you do. So this new generation, the thing is that it's too easy to compare yourself to others and feel debilitated, feel like you're worthless. Like you go on social media and all you see is amazing stuff. So when you look at your life, it's like, my life is shit. So is it even worth it? And then you try something because it feels like that's what the world is telling you that you should try. And then you fail at it. You're like, oh shit, I don't want people to tell me. Like this whole judgment thing is what really debilitates people. And that's when a lot of these conversations that people will love to talk about, they hold it on. And look, I feel like it's pretty great moment to talk about that because I've had family members and friends that have achieved massive success that when I look at them, it's like, man, that's the life. But they're miserable inside. There was one guy that literally had it all. Beautiful wife, kid, amazing, beautiful mansion, all the things that you can imagine, real estate portfolio. And then right after his wedding, a few months later, boom, committed suicide. I was in shock. I was like, I cannot believe this. Like, how? And he was not the only one. I had other people in my life that went through the same. People that you will not think that they're going through something. But it's that weight that they're carrying inside. And I always say the same thing. You cannot judge someone based on what you see because you don't know what they're going inside. And those conversations are very hard for people to have because once you've built some sort of status or image for the world, anything that is not in that, you don't want it to talk about. You don't want to show it.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the happiest people in the world, they're miserable inside. And you've seen it with some celebrities, right?
Sure.
It's just very sad.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I will always, regardless, for anybody to do, especially men, is do something hard. That misogi that we talked about, have that misogi for the year. Do something hard, something that scares you, because it's going to build you confidence. It's going to give you character. It's going to give you all the different tools that you can carry on for everything else in life. Choose something that scares you. Choose something that's hard. Mm-hmm. Do it. Do it with passion. Do it with intention. Do it so that you can be that better version that you deserve to be. And when I did that first misogi in my life, it was the Marathon des Sables, the toughest food race in the world. The one that you talked about, 6 marathons in 6 days across the Sahara Desert, carrying all your food and supplies. I was not even a runner. And I signed up for that race. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to do a marathon first. I didn't even run a marathon before. I went straight into the hard shit. And that's what scared me. I know I can do a marathon. I can do a marathon. What's scary about that? What, you got to slow down a little bit? You can do a marathon. There's water stations everywhere, people clapping. It's a safe zone. That cannot scare you. Do something that really scares you. Mm-hmm. Go to the toughest food race in the world. Do something that pushes you to the limits, that requires for you to evolve. And it's very easy to quit in the process because it's too hard. It's like, what am I doing? And then boom, quit, and I'll do it another time. You know how you don't quit? By holding to something that is powerful, something that goes beyond yourself. This is what we were talking at the beginning of the podcast. Find something that goes beyond yourself. Don't do it for external validation. Do it because there is a purpose behind that. And you got to ask yourself that question. Go deep into it. For me, it was this concept of the weight of depression. I'm like, I got to do something about this. This was resonating with me. So what I did is I put a weight on my back on top of it. So I was carrying a total of 45 pounds with me during this race. And needless to say that when I arrived there thinking, oh, I had no coach, I had no training plan, I was just literally going to Miami Beach on the sand, barefoot, with a backpack thinking, oh, this will do it. I went straight into the Sahara Desert, and the first day, and this is the exact same concept of what happens when Mike Tyson talks about, everybody thinks they're ready until they punch them in the face. Yeah. Same thing here. I arrived there, sandstorm, all this heat everywhere. I started coughing. I'm like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah, at what point does the training even matter?
Well, look, I thought it mattered, and I'm sure it did something, but I got there and I'm like, whoa, this is completely different.
Be conditioned enough, but know that you're either way going to get fucking wrecked. And you just, but the training is about knowing that I'm still going to go through it.
Right. And I share this story because the moral of the story is that I got it there. That's 50% of the work. I showed up. I was ready to embark in the toughest foot race in the world. And I started to look at people around me that were professional athletes that have won gold medals, have done all these world records, people that I even follow on social media. I was like, oh my God, that guy is here. Yeah. And I felt privileged to be there. But at the same time, I started to compare myself. And again, comparison is the thief of joy. I started to be like, if these guys are here, who am I? Like, am I really worth it to be here? Am I even ready? Like, what's going on, right? And I'm like, okay, delete that. Just focus, being present. And I did the first marathon. I was completely wrecked afterwards. And whenever I got into the second marathon, I remember I was like halfway through. And I'm like completely collapsing. I'm fading, something is off, but I keep going. And then I see the same guy that I followed on social media. He's on the ground. He's on his walkie-talkie calling for the helicopter because he's quitting. I'm like, wow, this guy is quitting. Then who am I to even continue? I started to pee blood. I was cramping on both my legs. My feet were melting. I started to touch on my shoulders, and there was blood because of all the weight that I was carrying. Like, this is useless. Why am I even doing this? Who am I to even continue? So I took also my backpack off, all that weight off, and I'm like, I'm just going to leave as well. So I was going to grab the walkie-talkie to talk, and I saw that weight. I saw that weight, the weight of depression. All the names of all the people that have reached out, sharing their struggles, because we did this huge campaign where we were encouraging people that were struggling with mental health issues to share their story. We did this huge landing page. We did a lot of different campaigns on social media, went on podcasts, radio shows, TV shows, so that all these people that were holding that, they will share it with someone. And the goal was to carry all those struggles, all those names and stories throughout the toughest foot race in the world, so that at the end of the race, I will bury that weight in the sand and leave all those struggles behind. So people will feel that they're not alone on their struggles. So when I put that backpack down and I was going to call the helicopter, I saw the weight. And I no longer thought about, oh, I'm quitting. I thought about Kevin. I thought about Vanessa. I thought about Pablo. I thought about all the names of people that share those struggles with me.
Yeah, and who are you you can't stop at that point.
I'm like, I'm not stopping. This goes beyond me. Yeah. I put the backpack back on and I kept on going. I finished that second marathon, went straight into the emergency tent. There were a couple of the nurses there checking my feet, checking my levels of fluids. And they said to me, it's like, you are not in good condition to continue. You got to stop. Or you'll finish like those individuals right there. And they were pointing at some bodies that were covered in plastic. And this is, again, the same on an extreme case of what happens on our daily basis. The external voices. Oh, stop. You're going to get hurt. You cannot continue. Again, this is a more extreme case, but same concept. And rather than thinking about, oh, they're right, I got to stop, I went back into my why. And I was no longer thinking about, oh, I have to do 4 more marathons. I was just breaking it down into small, tangible goals. In this case, just get up, move, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. And that built momentum. And this is what happens to ourselves in life. We think about all these big dreams that we want to accomplish, and they feel so far out that we just quit. Because it feels so far out, right? Feels so heavy. Yeah. But if you break it down into small, tangible goals, then it feels more attainable. And that's what I did. I started to do these small, little goals. And that is what built momentum. And while my body was breaking down, my mind was getting stronger. And that was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had early on in my life, because it made me realize that the mind is what drives the body to do whatever you want. And I no longer reached that last day, that last marathon, thinking that I could finish the race. I went into that last day thinking, I can win this thing. And that last marathon, I crossed that finish line among the first few people. And that was the moment that I realized, wow, when you have a promise to yourself and to others that goes beyond yourself, and quitting is not an option, your mind will figure it out. You just got to stay in the game. You might be broken, but you'll start healing along the way as long as your mind is strong. And that was one of the moments in my life that made me realize that we have something within our ears that if we are able to master, if we are able to craft on strengthen it every single day, man, the word limitless exists for a reason.
Yep.
And you can apply it not just in sports, but everything in life. Doing that race across America, doing Ultraman, doing all these 100-mile races, doing everything, or just like in business, holding on this business and taking it to the top, or flying helicopters, skydiving, climbing mountains, giving speeches in front of thousands of people. Whatever it is that I'm doing now that a few years ago I was terrified of doing, it's not because I got better at it. It's because I've continuously put in my mind towards doing things that I'm afraid of. And that's what helps you craft a strong mindset. And that, my friend, like when you are just having that capacity of just tapping on anything, life becomes so much fun and exciting.
Yeah. What in your mind right now is the hardest possible thing you could do next?
I love to think about combining passions and taking them to the next level. So rather than to do a little bit of everything, just this past year alone, there was one of my wildest dreams. I've always thought of, man, how can I combine all my passions and do something like completely rational that doesn't exist, that really drives me forward to do it? I'm in real estate, right? So I wanted to have the most expensive listing I could ever dream of. I was thinking also about what is the most incredible stunt I can do, what is the most impactful driven event that I can host. And I started to think about all the pieces, and I'm like, how can I put them together? So I ended up getting an exclusive listing for $40 million in Florida. I was able to fly a helicopter into the event, skydive out of it, land in the event.
Yeah.
It was what people will call a broker's open, where you're like hosting an event for real estate. I instead did a wellness retreat and real estate summit, where we were hosting half of the day all wellness activities, and then later on it was a real estate summit with some of the most successful real estate brokers, architects, interior designers speaking, and then we had like a whole night of experiences. So I was thinking, wow, I'm combining flying helicopters, I love it. I love skydiving, I combine that. I love hosting events in the wellness space and in real estate, combining that. Giving speeches to impact people, real estate, hosting it in an exclusive listing that we had. And I was just thinking about it at night, just when I was by myself, and I'm thinking, what the hell did I just do? You know how scary all of that was? Like how precise everything had to be to make it work. And it was incredible. And we had a seaplane in the house to start giving people tour and arrivals. Like it was just mind-blowing. Like when I look back into it, I'm like, wow. And it all came out of dreaming on something huge, but then taking action towards it. So now I'm working on some other wild dreams, but it all comes down to combining stuff.
Sure.
And also, I'll tell you something, your community matters. When you surround yourself with high achievers and you are all with the mindset of, how can we do something incredible together? That's when real magic occurs. I'm actually now a little bit more afraid of getting together with those type of individuals because we all go with this mindset of let's do something all together. I was actually skydiving with the Red Bull team and with Nims, who is a famous mountaineer. He has this Netflix show called 14 Peaks. He's the guy that has the record of climbing the 14 peaks at the highest speed. And anyways, very, very well-known guy in the climbing world. And of course, the Red Bull team, professional skydivers. There was Fred, who is the world champion skydiver. And we were all skydiving together. It's like, dude, we got to do a project together. Like, what could that be? And then, of course, you start combining things like, oh, climb Everest and skydive out of Everest, and we can do this. And that's one of the things that I've always say is like, get yourself the right circle. And you don't have to have it right away, but find your way to get there. How can you add value? The reason that now I get to be in front of all these people is because there is a lot of years behind that I've been focusing on adding value. And then when you just focus on adding value and expect nothing in return, eventually you start building that community. You're hosting a lot of podcasts. You're just providing your platform for people like myself to share a story. So you're adding value to me because now I get to talk to a new audience and they get to know the story and hopefully they'll feel inspired or empowered. So you're adding value. Now we're building a relationship. And we were talking before on how we can do more things together. Maybe we'll go on a race together. Maybe we'll do something different together. But that's the key here is how can you tap into OPA, other people audiences? How can you be in front of a stage that matters to you, OPS, other people's stages? Mm-hmm. Just think about what can you leverage. What are you good at? What is something that you can add value on? Build that for yourself and do it consistently.
Yep. Okay. As we start to come to a close here a little bit, I'd love to introduce the question I ask everybody towards the end of every episode, which is, what do you think it means to be a man nowadays?
Well, it's a good question. I think it's to be a provider.
What does that mean? Provide what?
Provide anything that you can provide to the people in your life, whether it's your family, your coworkers, your environment, your circle, to be able to provide. And by provide, it could come from all sorts of things that you might have at the moment. You could provide just positive energy. You could provide finances. You can provide safety. Eventually, you want to work towards providing as much as you can. But I feel like becoming a man and being a man is to be a provider.
Yeah. On that note, because that one comes up a lot, provide, protect. We've gotten like to be a giver. That's another common one we hear a lot. Do you think that's evolved and changed? Like the definition of providing has changed, especially in the last couple of years, but also over the last couple of decades?
Yeah, I think that there is more communication now. I feel like before there was this stigma of if you're not able to provide, and providing means like taking care of everything, you're not man enough.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what people hear. Like if you're not fearless and able to tackle everything and protect, provide financially and this and that, like basically create a safety environment where you can give everything, you're not a man. But now I think that has evolved to now being able to communicate on really what your environment needs. Because your wife can still work. She might be passionate about working. She might want to bring something to the table that is beyond what the standards were, which is take care of your kids or, cook or whatever. Like everything has evolved. So I do think that now it's about having communication, being honest with each other and seeing how we can, as a family, provide what we believe we can provide to the table. And if there is alignment in there, then you're a man by providing what you feel that you can provide and that is in alignment with the person that you're with.
Yep. My last question to you. It's a big one.
Yeah.
What's something that you've never shared, but you may feel you are ready to share it?
Never shared. Well, I will say that I've saved a friend from committing suicide. And that was the scariest part I've ever encountered. Being in front of someone that it was seconds away from committing suicide. And being able to have a tender conversation, to really understand the person, to really listen to the person, and to change the entire trajectory of that person. And up to this day, we talk about that. This person often comes in tears to me. And it was just a simple conversation. It was just listening. It was just asking the right question. And that was very, very touching. Because you see people committing suicide. You might have had also friends that committed suicide, and you might have seen a lot of death in your life, but seeing a friend of yours, a close friend, carrying this person really in the border of committing suicide, when you did not expect that at all, it really catches you by surprise, and it makes you reflect a lot, and to just let your instincts kick in and just be there for that person. Not about, oh, don't do it, or you shouldn't do it. Like, think about, no, It's not even about what to say. It's how you listen. And from that moment on, I realized that the most important conversations that you can have with someone are the ones that you listen to.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anyone in your world that that you could listen to a little better right now?
Yeah. I think we all can.
Yeah, someone that comes to mind for all of us. That's a good ending, is using that as a call to action.
Yeah.
How would you frame that? What's the call to action there?
Like you said right there, who is somebody in your life that you could be listening to him or her a little bit more? So yeah, ask yourself that question. Who is that person for you? And do it.
Love it, man. How can people find you online?
Well, I think that the most dynamic way to keep up to date and get a little source of fire will be on Instagram, Alvaro Nuñez. And if you want to hear more or listen or just read, you can find it on Audible or on Amazon in general. Just Level Up. And here's where I go a little bit more into the real raw story on how it all started. And yeah, I mean, I think that everybody has the capacity to turn obstacles into superpowers. So whoever is feeling that they can do better in life, I think this is a good read. It's easy. And yeah, keep up the good work, man. I think that you have a gift in getting people to be a bit more vulnerable. I think we need that these days. It's a little bit tiring. In fact, for me as well, just to keep on going to all these podcasts and interviews and keep on talking about myself, achievements, all this, like it gets boring, right? Like nobody wants to hear another success story. They want to hear about the rawness behind it. Yeah. And yes, there's always a good feeling when the success story comes at the end, but there is a beginning, right? And I think that all of us, we are all going through something, even those that have it all, quote unquote, figured out. And the beautiful thing is that the ending is up to us. So if you are just going through any struggles, know that this is just part of the process and what makes the story a little bit sweeter, right, at the end. So just keep on going.
Thank you, brother. This was a lot of fun.